All right, hello and welcome to the GGG podcast. I'm Paul and this is Phil. And before we get started, a quick reminder to click that subscribe button. And if you're interested, you can also follow us on TikTok at Golden Glaze Gaming. We've been a little delayed. I've had some stuff I had to do in my personal life, so sorry for the late podcast. But Spider-Man is out, and we are excited to get going. How are you, Phil? And what have you been up to this week?
Well, I'm real good, but I gotta say I'm real tired because it is, New York City never sleeps, and when you're just rescuing it 24/7, like I have since Friday at 9 p.m., sometimes you have to rely on your darker urges and energy drinks.
Yeah.
that make you say things you don't want to say to the people that you love. But
it's when the Red Bull comes out.
It's when the Red Bull, yeah, that'll be dangerous. Then truly the carnage will be unleashed.
Right on. I see. See what you did there. Okay, so a lot of Spider-Man. You've been playing any other things prior to Friday at 9 p.m.?
Yeah, what was I playing? I was playing more of Assassin's Creed. I've been kind of working my way through that. Still really enjoying it. And I think any other year, it would have been like, not a game of the year, but definitely something I'd be like, hey, people aren't paying enough attention to Assassin's Creed, which is weird to say because it's Assassin's Creed. But yeah.
Do you think?
How about you? What else?
Well, real quick, do you think like people aren't taking it seriously because of the price point or because it's a smaller game?
I think all of it a little bit. Like,
Sure.
It's weird. It's seemingly the fan reaction, like people who like Assassin's Creed games are really enjoying this one, and I think people who were burnt out by Valhalla seem to be very much enjoying like a smaller, condensed, focused experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just like, because the $50 game, because it's kind of short in terms of Assassin's Creed games, people are sort of like, and I think people are a little burnt out on Assassin's Creed. So it's all these things kind of came together, and the game I felt like kind of quietly came out. Even the advertising you could see was kind of like streamers doing a lot of like, oh wow, this game is cool, but it's like not people I've seen before.
Sure.
So
sure. I saw a lot of ads for it.
Did you?
But like I know that Ubisoft has all of my information, so I'm sure they've sold all of that, and they know exactly where to find me on the internet.
They were on Target, huh?
Does that game even sell at Target? There's got to be physical copies, right?
I think there's physical copies of this one, but it's interesting. I think they could have probably done like, oh, it's a digital release game,
right?
But that also probably would have tampered sales a little bit as well.
Sure.
What have you been playing outside of Spider-Man?
Not really much. I because of my private business, like I haven't had a lot of time to play games. I did play another round of Void Crew last night with some friends, and I think I played a round of Dark Tide as well, just because it got that update a couple weeks ago that redoes all the classes, and so I'm having fun with that. But it's the type of I've played that game so much, it's gotten to the point of like I can play it for like an hour and then I'm just kind of done, and that's fine because it's been out for a very long time. So but yeah, just playing a lot of Spider-Man, very into it. I'm excited to get to it for our main topic in the agenda, but unfortunately we have to talk about other things first. So
this week for game releases is kind of stupid. Like, stay away from Spider-Man week. You guys, Insomniac is coming here.
Clear the board. Like, what are you guys doing?
But if there's anyone who could like stand up to them, probably Nintendo.
Always Nintendo. Always and forever. And more in particular, Mario.
Yeah, their proud little poster boy standing there in his overalls and blood red shirt doused with the blood of his enemies.
Oh my god. We saw a different movie. Like wow.
I saw this weird anime and it was great, but super sexual.
Yeah, next Mortal Kombat 1 DLC character is Mario. I did not realize.
That would be sick. Imagine him like shooting a red fireball flower like into somebody.
But only available for the Switch version of Mortal Kombat. Anyway, sorry.
And with the addition of Mario, a 9 out of 10.
Yes.
So yeah, Mario Wonder is has released yesterday, the same day as Spider-Man, for the Switch only. And I'm sure it's going to do crazy numbers because it's a Mario game, and that's just a stamp of quality unto itself.
Yeah.
Reviews are really positive. I'm probably going to pick it up at some point. I was thinking if I had a partner who played video games, I would be like, this is the game we're going to play together.
Right.
I don't. So I'm saving it for like when it's a little cheaper so that I can try to cajole her to play.
Right.
And if she doesn't want to, then I don't feel as bad having spent $60 or $70.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a good around the holidays game, you know, around the fireplace or, you know, the fireplace you put on your laptop. Yeah,
Grandma, come play Mario. Hey, you can turn into an elephant.
This is the 2D Mario, correct?
Yeah, it's a 2D Mario.
Okay.
It's interesting because I feel like since the N64, there's been like two genres of Mario games where you have your 3D ones that are kind of the flagships, and then your 2D ones which are like, hey, this is a fun little experiment. According to what I've heard, the quality of this one is like flagship quality. Just it's a 2D game, so
that's great. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna jump around a little bit, but like I really like when it's an old school game like that. I prefer the 2D experiences, and so I feel that exact same way with Sonic Superstars. So, okay. And you saying earlier with like too many games coming out this week, it's really weird that Mario Wonder and Sonic Superstars are coming out at the same time. That's really weird. Like
those old rivalries will never die. I feel like anytime there's a Mario game, Sonic's gotta be right behind him.
Yeah, like I don't that is, and I'll be honest, like I haven't really been interested in a Sonic game for a very long time. But seeing it as like a 2D experience, like how it used to be, so there's like a little bit of that nostalgia factor, but it's also new. It's like that. That might be a Sonic that I pick up. I don't know.
Totally.
So, but that's because I owned a Sega Genesis and I did not own a Nintendo when I was a little kid. So
I was the same way. That's why I like had to love Sonic.
Yeah.
And granted, Sonic and Knuckles, like popping your Sonic and Knuckles 2 cartridge, and then popping your other cartridge on top of that, really cool.
It was really cool. All of that old, like that 90s tech, like where it's just smash it together. Like
blowing it. I don't know. We got to get the game going now.
Yeah, when I was home this week, I found one of my old Game Boys. And I don't know if you remember all of like the accessories that you could attach to a Game Boy, but I forgot how many things that you could, like with the magnifying lens and the side speakers and like backlights didn't exist yet, and so there was a light that
you had the little like
yeah, and then there's the cables and God, so many accessories.
The magnifying glass to me is especially funny because it takes the screen from like I don't even know, like 3 inches by 3 inches to like 4 inches by 4 inches.
It makes a difference. It made a difference in the 90s. So,
this is I'm stoked for the Sonic game because it's like a modern Sonic game. Because the last one that was a really big hit before the 3D one that came out, Frontiers, was Sonic Mania.
Maybe.
I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
It wasn't made by the Sonic team, but by like a group of people who really liked it, and then Sega brought them in.
Okay.
But it looked like the old Sega Genesis Sonic, and it got really great reviews across the board. And now it's cool to see that the Sonic team was like, oh, okay, let's do one of our own like that. So again, yeah, if it's the right price, I'm definitely in on Sonic Remastered.
Right.
Or not Sonic Superstars. I'm looking at our list and I'm getting all fucked up. I mean, messed up.
It's fine. We're fine. We can have one. It's PG-13, so we're allowed one.
Do we get one?
Everybody gets one. like the Family Guy Spider-Man.
Yeah.
All right.
Everybody gets one.
All right, so let's jump back to what could be the worst game of the year. Skull Island: Rise of Kong I've seen it all over the internet for being an awful game. Have you seen any footage of this by chance?
I have seen some. It looks like a game made by AI. Like that was the first shot,
You just crushed some programmer's soul just now.
Yeah. You know what? You know what? You should. I'm not. I don't mean to be mean, but you should have worked harder on this one. Okay.
I saw one.
I don't think I could do better, but I'm not doing this. So you do.
You're getting paid.
Yeah.
I saw a cutscene of him of King Kong smashing some animal or something, but they couldn't they didn't want to show the animal in the frame of the shot. And so it just it made every time he smashed, there were these rocks that would pop up from the bottom of the screen, but it's you're smashing an animal, why are there rocks anyway it looks really bad. I'm surprised that this made the quality control check. Do you know if it's out for every system?
I don't know exactly. And here's the thing that I wonder, it's almost comically bad to the point of I wonder if this is an ARG, if there is a game that we're supposed to be finding within this broken game, or it's almost released what is it, Goat Simulator?
Sure.
Because there is literally a scene in this game where I think he's fighting a T-Rex of some sort, and the T-Rex is coming at him, and then they cut to a shot, but it's just a still image, but you can see the borders of the image of the T-Rex, and it just plays a sound. It seems unbelievably bad in a way that I just don't believe that they weren't doing something else here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they were going for, though. I mean, maybe you're onto something with that train of thought, but yeah, it's surprisingly bad. Let's not spend too much time on it because the internet's doing a great job on its own trashing it.
I just want to see how much this game cost.
Please do. Please tell us. However much it is, it's probably going to be too much.
All right. I'm looking at the Nintendo shop.
Okay.
$40 for the digital version, but you can also get the Colossal Edition for $50.
Ooh. Does it come with an NFT or what do we do?
Yeah, it's an NFT of the image that they put instead of the video of the dinosaur.
Excellent.
Wow. What a terrible game.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Honestly, originally when I saw this footage for this game, I thought it was a phone game. So
yeah, it looks like it.
That tells you all you need to know. Oh, this is for your phone. Anyway. Although, who knows? Because the iPhone can run Assassin's Creed now. So, who am I to say?
Maybe that's the way that you're supposed to play this game. It's Apple does. Okay, next up is a fun little bit of nostalgia. Is Gargoyles Remastered. Mm-hmm. It's cool. It's got one of those it's a Gargoyles game that came out for the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo era. Think the Disney games like Aladdin or Lion King, and the Disney pack that was remastered recently. Actually, I think they had. No, it was DuckTales that it is for. Anywho, you have a button while you're playing the game to switch between current graphics, which are done in sort of this almost Flash style, to the original Sega Genesis graphics. And I always love that, just to feel like you're playing an old game,
right?
And it's really cool that Gargoyles is still in the zeitgeist. Kind of.
Well, it's coming back. We talked about before we started recording that Disney's making a Gargoyles show, so it's coming back. It's still a franchise,
and it's a live action show. You told me, which is
yes,
vaguely horrifying.
Yes, so
but I am in.
Yeah, we will see what they do with it. That's really cool that it lets you switch between graphical modes. I thought that was a great feature in the Master Chief Collection, I want to say.
Yeah.
So it's always good to see, how far, even animation styles have come. So very cool.
Totally.
Very cool. All right. And then we obviously have the big release, which is Spider-Man 2. We're not going to get too into it right now, but we've both played it, both having a reasonably good time at the very least. So, but yeah, we're going to save the Spider-Man talk to the very end. So for those listening and you just want to hear about Spider-Man, just, skip to the last 15 minutes.
Yeah. Or realistically, probably the last 30.
Yeah, probably. It will be the majority of the podcast.
I guess last on the list is Jackbox. Party Pack 10. So a bunch of Jackbox games. Mm-hmm. Do you ever play Jackbox?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I own several. I want to say I own 2 or 3 Jackbox party packs. I think they're great. I played them a lot during COVID, remotely. Also great for like smaller parties, like groups of people, and the fact that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar, but just the fact that you can just use your phone for all of these games, so you don't have to worry about, oh, do I have controllers for everyone, or that big hiccup. Most people have smartphones, and so they'll be able to play the games, and a lot of them are really fun. A lot of them ask me to be like so creative that it kind of gives me anxiety. But,
Whenever they want me to draw, I'm like, I'm not gonna do good. I just gotta accept it. It's gonna be shit.
well, there's a lot of them that are
Dang
like,
it, my second one.
no, that's okay. It wasn't the other one, so that's good.
Was the
Yeah.
okay.
The ones that like ask you to like make a joke, or like be the wittiest, and I'm like, I got a couple witty things I can say, but ultimately then I just like second guess my joke ability. So
Totally.
But I'm sure, have you played them as well?
Oh yeah, I love Jackbox. I think I have 2 and 3. But whenever I'm like at a party and we bust out Jackbox, I know it's gonna be a good time. I love that they're kind of like, they have they have like Quiplash and Fibbage and like their drawing game. They kind of come back time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
But every party pack usually has like a couple of silent little like tryouts that are sometimes bangers. Like there's a Rapping Robots one that's really great.
Ooh.
The T-shirt battle game is really, really fun.
Played that one, yeah.
And I like how they just change up the concept of what a game is. Because it's like, drawing or whatever. Like, it's just these really fun little thought experiments of gamifying like the concept of making a T-shirt or making graffiti. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to try out new like game elements with groups that aren't like, well, we have to figure out how we can package this into a box and sell it as an individual thing. And like the fact that you get the party pack and it comes with all of these different things, because there's always like 1 or 2 out of the 6 or 7 that may not be your flavor of gimmick. But there's always something in there that's a great time. So
Totally.
I'll probably look at that for the holidays as well. It's probably a good holiday purchase. So
100%.
yeah. All right, so we are moving on to our first news story this week. Bethesda reportedly wants to give Redfall a redemption arc. That's great.
Yeah.
It sounds like they got their work cut out for them. And honestly, Bethesda, as a personal note from me, maybe we can focus on Starfield first. Maybe you continue to fix this game that you put out that's still kind of broken. Like, there was an update recently, and I loaded into my game after the update, and my ship was like halfway underground, and so like I couldn't board it manually. And so it's just like, anyway, regardless, so I'm happy that they want to fix Redfall.
What a good game.
But like, can we fix the game that you just released, please?
Mm-hmm.
The bigger game.
Well, like the one that everybody has.
Yes.
Like Redfall. Sure. So I heard a news story about Redfall that it went from I think there was like 4 active players on Steam, which is not the whole number of everybody playing.
Right.
But they were down to 4, and I believe, or maybe it was something like 50. It was a very small number, but I think they did an update recently that brought it up to like 200 active players. They're trying to work on stuff, and I'm very happy that they have Arcane like digging in on this, because I think, honestly, I would have judged them a little bit if they just went on to the Division, not the Division 3. What's the stabby game with the guy with the mask?
Dishonored.
Dishonored.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on.
If they just went on to Dishonored 3 and didn't really do anything to fix Redfall, it would have been kind of at least a mark on their credibility.
Yeah. Very true.
But yeah, fix Starfall, you guys.
Starfield, not Starfall. You're getting them confused.
No, it's Star Falling from
It's Star fell through the frickin' planet in my game. So, yeah. But yeah, fix everything. Maybe release games when they're ready. Let's try that. It sounds like a good plan. Yeah. All right. So next we got on the list, EA's Iron Man will run on Unreal Engine 5. It's not releasing anytime soon. We don't really have a lot of information as far as like the details of what the game is going to look like. But I don't think enough companies are using Unreal Engine 5. I get that. I know that Epic is when you use Unreal Engine, they're going to dip their hands into your pocket for using that engine, and I get that. But I just think that Unreal Engine 5, more than any other engine right now, really feels and runs like a next gen engine, or this gen. I should need to start saying, because I just feel like there's a lot of games that are getting away with not improving graphics because we've kind of hit this like evening out place, and there's like, well, as long as it loads well, it's great. But so I'm excited that it's running at Unreal Engine 5. I know EA has like Frostbite, and they have their own engines, so I'm really curious to see how this game looks and feels. I hope it can be good. But yeah, we don't really know anything. What would an Iron Man game look like for you?
Oh, so there was a really cool Iron Man game, I think, for the Xbox 360 made by like Sega, and it was almost like one of those Xbox era games where you'd fly, gunmetal specifically. It was this great game where like you were a jet/robot, you'd fly around and like attack bases and stuff, and that was pretty much the game. But I think when it comes to Iron Man, you need to have a lot of spectacle, so you need like a lot of flying fights. And I think, after playing Spider-Man as much as I have, I don't think you want an open world Iron Man game. I think you want like a mission specific, like you're in certain areas.
Yeah. Because maybe like a God of War open world ish, or maybe that's too much.
Or just a focused experience, because like if you could fly anywhere in the city, like I don't know, I feel like Iron Man's fights are kind of hard to play because they can be so grand in scale or so small in scale. I don't know. I think you have a lot of mobility here, but I'm happy to hear it's running in Unreal, because I think there's like a pride thing that a lot of companies don't want to use another company's engine.
Yeah.
And it's, as we've seen with Starfield, like everything Bethesda, make a new engine,
or just use Unreal 5. Just
or
do
use
it.
Unreal 5. Like they're like, it's still good. And you're like, I could see there's sparks coming out of it, man. Yeah, I'm happy. I think EA silently every now and again makes a great game, like the Star Wars games.
Yeah.
Fallen Order and
Survivor.
Jedi Survivor.
Yeah. Squadrons we talked about was good.
Yeah. Just give me something like that, and I'm in. Just don't, or make it better than what was that game that they made a couple years ago that was basically Iron Man?
Anthem. I mean,
just reskin Anthem, actually.
Yeah, I mean that's I'm sure they got to be using assets from Anthem, because like Anthem had a horrible release and tons of both visual glitches, game crashes, and server issues. So it was riddled like with problems. But like if you play Anthem now, and again, there's no support, there's no updates coming at this point for that game, but the servers are still up. If you play Anthem now, it's a good game. Like it's fun.
Yeah.
And like the story is kind of garbage, but the gameplay itself is very fun. And I think the key for me in any superhero game is the mobility. How does this hero get around? And I think like obviously Spider-Man has the best really traversal or mobility system I've ever seen in an open world game. But
The Arkham series was pretty great.
yeah,
About making
also
you feel Batman's.
absolutely
Yeah.
the Arkham series. I don't know about Arkham Knight, but the other regular Arkham games, yes. Those games were really good, and yeah.
Uh,
So it just
I,
needs to feel like a yeah. Go ahead.
okay, I have my pitch.
Here
You
we go.
make it kind of like a cross between Anthem, where you have different suits that are suited to different things. Like
Yeah.
your fast running suit, your heavy suit.
Then the
Maybe
Hulkbuster.
kind of like Hulkbuster. You do basically like missions, kind of like Armored Core 6, the one that recently
Yeah.
released, where you can kind of go in and tinker with your Iron Man suit to either get better at doing something or to like just clear your missions. Like you can keep rerunning them or like do simulations of old missions, just to like upkeep that Tony Stark learns from what he did, and then build suits so that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
That's my pitch for their Iron Man game. You
Yeah.
could do this, EA. I believe in you.
There's a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of stuff you can do with an Iron Man game that I think will be really good.
Yeah.
And a conversation I had with a friend from the Marvel's Avengers game was I thought a lot of the problems with the gameplay is because they kind of had to. They did their best, or I don't know if they did their best. I shouldn't say that. But they tried to make characters feel different. But
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, they needed all the characters to work within a certain scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for the plane if you can hear it going over above me.
Oh.
And so having a game that's specifically designed for one hero, it makes
Mm-hmm.
all the difference in the world instead of trying to incorporate all of this other stuff. Like if I have to take into consideration how Black Widow moves as opposed to the Hulk,
Mm-hmm.
like that's going to be a big difference. So anyway,
That's I remember one time I was playing Avengers. My friend was playing as Iron Man. I was Captain America, and I was like running along, and I looked up to see him in the air. And because they had to modulate Iron Man's speed to like everyone else's, he just looked like he was flying like this, like just
Yeah.
so slowly.
yeah.
It's like
And it's just like
that's
Iron Man would be, aside from Thor, he'd be like the first or second person there. Like,
totally. Well, yeah, I'm excited for it. See what they do, but should we go move on to the next story?
let's do it. Hit it up.
Pete Hines, who is the lead writer on a lot of Bethesda projects, one of their core like team over the past 24 years, has announced his retirement, which is interesting. I mean, I feel like Todd Howard and Pete Hines are the two names you think of when you think Bethesda.
Yeah.
So this feels like a big thing, and with Bethesda, I wouldn't necessarily say that they're like on a slump, but it does feel like they've slowed down from like the Oblivion, Fallout 3, Skyrim, Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas era, even though that was not technically Bethesda. But you know what I mean? Like, there was this list of bangers that they released, and now I feel like we're at this pace where they're going very slowly, and the games are coming out to like, okay, you know?
Yeah, I think that they, and this is all speculation, but I think that they just got a little comfortable in their success. The amount of
Mm-hmm.
times that they even like made a joke about it themselves with the amount of times that they released Skyrim over and over and over again, and then they did that joke with Keegan Michael Key with the Skyrim Alexa.
Yeah.
Like that was really funny, but it was also a little too close to the truth. Like, so
We were all like, I paid $40 for it again, so you want to just give me a new game?
so I'm not a fan of like pushing anyone out just because they're from an older generation, but I am a fan of bringing new ideas in, and so I think there's been some speculation with Pete Hines announcing retirement that Todd Howard is going to be the next domino to fall, and I just hope that they can change some things. Like I really love Starfield. I'm a big Elder Scrolls guy. I would love for the next Elder Scrolls to be a really good game. But after how Starfield released, it doesn't really give me enthusiasm that the next Elder Scrolls is going to be of high quality.
Yeah.
So, and I want that game to be good, but they need to start implementing new things that make modern games a lot easier, and maybe not easier but more streamlined, and they're kind of refusing to evolve and grow up a little bit, and so maybe this will be a step in the right direction. I don't know if Pete Hines was really the problem, but I guess
he was one up top being like, no, fuck it, don't test it, don't test it,
don't test it. It's fine
for whatever.
We don't
Just
need a beta.
It's good.
We only need a beta if it's online. It's not online, no beta. It's all right.
No beta. We're gonna support the MMO version nonstop.
Yes. So yeah. All right. Next on the news, our last news topic before Spider-Man, is the return to Moria has been delayed on PS5. It is still coming to PC. The PC version has not been delayed. I believe it's coming out next week. So that's very exciting. I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan. As I previously mentioned on the podcast, I think the game looks really rough. It is an early access game, but to me, it looks rougher than usual. I love games. I love Valheim. I'm a huge Valheim guy, and this is obviously kind of the same genre, just in a Lord of the Rings flavor. But I don't know if this is ready. So this is a game that I want to support, and I'll probably pick it up if some reviewers or some outlets say that it has a good foundation. But I think after we talked about the Golem release, I can't just buy a game because they slap Lord of the Rings on it. I can't just do that. Yeah. So how are you feeling about it?
I feel like they're trying to really monetize Lord of the Rings this year with the Magic the Gathering thing, with Golem. Granted, there's, I think some head at Warner Brothers Games came out and was like, we really need to use Lord of the Rings. It's such an underused IP for the company. But I'm excited for it. I feel like the pitch, or maybe at least the pitch to release it in its current state, was like, okay, well, Valheim looks a little like, old, and Deep Rock Galactic released, and like people are okay with those looking a little like iffy and them fixing them up over time. But the difference is, I think those were not known IP, and this is going to get a lot more like casual people who don't know that, like, okay, this may be an early build release versus where the game is going.
Sure.
So I think it's probably going to come out and catch a lot of bad user reviews because people are like, I bought this Lord of the Rings game and it's worse than Two Towers on the PS2, which, let's face it, that was an excellent game. But I mean, I don't know. I think some of my favorite games of last gen were the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really bummed that like sort of that boss mechanic hasn't come back in any game, like the
what was it called?
The enemies that you defeat,
the Nemesis system. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I want that back really, really badly. But that said, I mean, if it's anything like Deep Rock or Valheim, it seems like a good time with your friends, and I'm willing to be patient and be like, all right, hey, if it releases and it's not fully done yet, as long as they keep working on it, I'm on board.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I will empower them to continue to work on the game. I think kind of a key difference with the presentation in Deep Rock or in Valheim is just I think that those are more intentional art styles, because they both have very specific looks. It's like, no, they're not the most advanced running games. Absolutely not. They're clearly designed to be able to run on a lot of different things. And to not be like, a RAM sucker. But this game, I guess, like the art style is, I don't know what the art style is. It's just a little like, are they going for realistic? It kind of feels like they're going for like Lord of the Rings, but the book Lord of the Rings, and not the movie, which is, again, totally fine. But yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. I really want it to be good. I am just so I'm just being so careful about it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I don't know, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for what's coming next for Lord of the Rings, which is, I believe it's, I wrote down the name and I forgot it. It's a Shire-based game.
Oh, right.
That's sort of like a comfort-looking game, kind of akin to Stardew Valley. It's got Weta Workshops working on the game, and it's coming out 2024. So, like, I think Lord of the Rings is kind of rife for a position to build games and set games in, but I don't want them to just be, like, thrown out there before they're done. And it looks like that might be the case with this one. So,
Yeah.
and it's also weird they're kind of, like, copying other games' vibe,
By, like, copying Valheim or
or that, and then the
Stardew Valley.
Shire one, being kind of like a Stardew Valley
Yeah,
inspired game.
it would be nice to have a Lord of the Rings game that was an original concept, but I mean, that's kind of what Golem was, right? Like, that was an original. No, what did they copy, like, with that one? So I think they're just.
Whatever it was, no one speaks of it anymore because it was too bad.
I think they're probably looking at other independent games that have been successful that aren't like a huge financial risk if they make it. Return to Moria, being a crafting survival game is probably a lot cheaper to make than we're gonna make Lord of the Rings: The Fourth Age, where you get to pick your race and you get to explore the open world of Middle Earth, which would be awesome, and I would love that.
Yeah.
But that would probably take a lot of money to make that game. So,
well, so that's October 24th for Windows, and then December 5th for PlayStation.
All right,
5.
Right on. Well, good that it's still coming out this year for PS5. So yeah, if you're interested in supporting the game early, it is available on PC. I believe it's exclusively available through the Epic Game Store. So I know there are some Steam aficionados out there who won't like that, but that is the only available way to play it right now. So.
Sure.
All right, so let's get into our main topic that we've both been clamoring to talk about. For you said that this could be a game of the year several weeks ago, so I want to give you the floor first to talk about this game. So what are some early feelings you have about it? And if you want to get into the some of the mixed reviews, you can, but just have the floor, Phil. How do you feel about Spider-Man?
I don't think that anybody has done as well with Spider-Man as Insomniac does with Spider-Man. They seem to really love the character, and while they are exploring some like slightly different origins and outcomes for the characters in the series, you can just really tell that they love Spider-Man. They love all the villains. They love Peter. They love Miles. Like, they are really fleshing this out in a way that hasn't been done before. That is just the story. Like, the story is excellent. The Peter Harry relationship so good. That's great. The gameplay is the same as the first, but better.
Totally agree.
Yeah. I don't really know what they could have done. Kind of like with Arkham Asylum to Arkham Knight, where they are Arkham City, where they expanded. But this, they kind of like focus more on little things in combat. They had a parry system. New suit powers. It seems like every lesson that they learned from both Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales was incorporated, as well as some new things for us to try out. And yeah, I don't know. I'm very, very happy with the game. It might be my game of the year. Baldur's Gate's still holding on pretty well, as well as Legend of Zelda. So, I think it's... as soon as this podcast is done, I'm gonna go play it more. But yeah, I'm loving it, and man, that every suit is so cool. Every suit is so cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was on the fence about getting the digital deluxe edition, but then I was like, that's $10. Oh, whatever.
Yeah. I originally was gonna get the collector's edition, then I was like, where am I gonna put 19 inches of Venom? So I just got the collector's edition. I realized I don't use those suits that much, but I was like, hey, Insomniac, just take more of my money, please. Just have some more.
And I think we talked about it before. It's like when I'm playing through the story, I like to, be playing in the suits that they're supposed to be in for that story. But like you reminded me, it's like, and then once you're done with the story, that's when you can like mess around in the other suits and do the open world stuff. And so that...
Do a lot of photo mode.
Yes, exactly. So
What are your thoughts on it?
I love it. I think it's great. Like, a little bit to pivot into some of the mixed reviews. And when we say mixed reviews, no one is saying it's a bad game. So that's not what we're saying. It's not as it's not as torn as like Starfield or anything like that. Like, this game is a very quality game. I think what a lot of people that I've been seeing online, and like a couple of reviewers like on IGN is the big one, have been complaining about, is they're like, well, it's still Spider-Man. It's similar to the other games, and it's Spider-Man. And for me, I'm just like, what were you thinking it was gonna be? Like, what? Like, of course, it's a sequel, guys. It's a sequel. Like, it's going to be similar. Like, I didn't buy God of War Ragnarok and think, wow, this is going to be completely different from God of War. It's like, no, it's going to be the same formula, but they're going to improve on it. And like you just mentioned, like, the combat feels better. Like, it's the same foundation of combat, but it feels a lot better. Like, I thought a big problem with the first game was that there was too many spider gadgets. And like, because of that, like, I never realistically used them all. Like, I really just used like 3 out of the 8. Whereas in this one, they've changed like how your abilities work and your gadgets work, and so it's more like, it feels more like hotkeys. And I like that better because it gives me a versatility in combat that feels good. I think that the haptics are a lot better, even from like Miles Morales' haptics on the PS5 controller. I think the story's good. Like, the game immediately gets off to a really big start. It just kind of throws you in there. And so it's like, I'm really enjoying it. And with these complainy reviews, or like, another complaint that I've heard has been like, well, the side quests and the side activities feel old, like they're old school gaming side activities. And it's just like, well, what do you want them to do? Do you have a better idea? And to me, even the side activities, they've streamlined them. Like, they've made things faster. And so it's like, you're still doing similar things, but like, like catching a robbery that's going, in a car has become a lot faster and easier to do. Or like, there's less focus on like, well, you got to go do this camp. And it's like, well, yeah, there are areas like with enemies that you have to clear. But in the first one, it was like, all right, here's wave 1 of the enemies. Here's wave 2 of the enemies. Here's 3, 4, 5 of the enemies. In this one, it's just like, clear out the enemies. If you don't do it stealthily, they'll call a batch of reinforcements, and then you deal with those, and then it's done. It's not trying to like,
it's not trying to over gamify it.
Exactly. And I think that might be the thing that people are criticizing about it, is that it's not really gamified. But it's just like, sometimes I don't want things, not everything needs to be this mountain grind that I need to climb, So like, I'm having so much fun with it. I think they've improved on every single aspect of the game, even comparing it to Miles Morales. And so it's like, I haven't gotten far enough in it. I just got to Bully Maguire.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
I just got there. Like, literally just happened. But like, I can't give it like a full review because I just haven't played it enough to be able to do that. But I like, aside from a couple of like glitches, like there have been a couple, like I have had to like reload at a checkpoint. There was an instance where I had to like restart the game, but then it put me exactly where I was. So it wasn't like, it wasn't a huge deal. So there are a couple of glitches, but aside from a couple of glitches, like, I have no complaints. Like, I don't know what they're talking about. Maybe I'll get fatigue after a while, but yeah.
Well, for me, I've had a couple of actual like, and I don't really get glitches on my PlayStation 5 often. I feel like most of the games are so, especially like a first-party game, and I have had my console like restarted because of just like swinging around the city.
Oh wow!
And granted, I was playing at that point for probably a good 6 hours, so maybe my console was just like, I can't, Phil, you're killing me. But okay, so love the game. I think if I think if I had to give any detractions to it, it would be, and I saw, I think Skill Up was talking about this in their review, that I tend to use my web wings, like I rely on them more than I do swinging, because it feels so good.
Right.
And it's not that I'm not having fun, it's just that I'm like, oh wait, I'm Spider-Man, I should be swinging a little bit more.
Sure.
And that's not like, I don't know, it's a, man, this feels so cool.
So it's a little OP, is that what you're saying?
It's a little OP, but also like you still have to be like evasive and know what you're doing to make it look cool. Additionally, I think I love that you can play as both Miles and Peter, but I feel bad sometimes when I'm like, okay, I'm developing several hours of Miles' story. Okay, I should switch back to Peter, but I really want to do this. Like,
right.
The game is so good at making you want to do the next thing that I do feel like the sense of responsibility to be like, oh, but I have to do this mission as Peter, or I want to do this thing as Peter. For example, there's like photo opportunities that you can do similar to the first game, and you don't have to do them as Peter, but whenever I play them, I like to do them as Peter.
Sure, because it's his thing. It's not really Miles' thing. Like,
yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a non-spoiler way to do it, but so like those combat arenas, like, you know, these types of games, especially when there's a lot of combat, have, hey, test your ability to fight a bunch of dudes, and then you get a reward afterwards. The way that they tied that in this game is like based in the world, and it's not just like you walk through a thing, or you walk up to a thing and you're all of a sudden in a combat arena. It's like, hey, there's a reason why you're doing this, and the story will pay off. Yeah, it's, I don't know, I'm like loving it so much and experiencing the meta narrative, like that it seems to be about redemption so far. Like all of these villains, like you get to know who they are more realistically, and I will say Kraven the Hunter is terrifying. Just such a scary bad guy.
Yeah, they did a good job with him. They really did.
Yeah.
Even his music is terrifying.
it's kind of got that like mind, or like the Urukai like boom. Yeah. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
And the voice performances are all stellar. They're just, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah.
I love this game.
Yeah, I'm having loads of fun with it. I would agree, like the web wings do feel a little OP at times. And it, you know, it doesn't quite feel like Spider-Man. And I think like, you know, because it was the gliding is such a good mechanic from the Arkham games. They were like, okay, we need to, and like, I know Spider-Man has web wings in certain comics and stuff like that. So it's not like they pulled it out of nowhere. But I think like how I'm using them about a third of the way through the game with like a couple of upgrades is realistically how they should feel towards the end of the game. And so maybe the web wings are just too accessible at the beginning. Like they're too good at the beginning before all these upgrades. Because yeah, it's like now, like, cause you can do the launch to like get yourself going. If you just launch and then go into web wings, like, you can pretty much get to any objective in a matter of seconds without fast traveling, which is awesome. And so it is a little OP, but like I really didn't know how they were going to make the traversal more fun than the previous games. And they managed to do that. They managed to add another element, and even like some of the swinging stuff, like I got the ability where you can like dive and then double over for momentum. Like that's really cool. You know, the launching thing that I was just talking about was really cool. Like they've added things, and they did something that like I feel that a lot of games don't always do with sequels, where a lot of the abilities that you earned in the first game, you just have those abilities. Yeah. It's like perfect parry, so perfect parry. You don't have to research perfect parry. You know, you don't have to research extra web zips. You know, for like webbing someone when you do a perfect parry from a rifle or something like that. You just have that already as well. And so like a lot of games like God of War is a little notorious for this of like, oh, you lost all of your abilities magically. You forgot everything that happened.
And hey, you know that really cool armor you had? It just kind of flew off.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Well, you were hot and you took it off and you just left it somewhere. Like, I don't so I think they did a good job with that as well. Like, I've seen other complaints of like, well, you're just mashing the square button a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I feel that. But I also think that is more of your style of playing. Like, anytime I'm mashing square a lot, it's like, well, I should probably use my gadgets and I should probably use my other abilities. And as soon as I start doing that, then, the variety comes in. And, it's a really, really solid game. Definitely a contender so far for me for Game of the Year. But yeah, I'll have to finish it.
I think it's probably like up there in terms of best story. But yeah, I will say there's a few games that like Arkham is up there, but few games that make me feel like I am beating as much Tushy as I am when I am playing Spider-Man. Like there's a certain ability to take people's like weapons away, but they've changed it from holding triangle to now you hold triangle and then press, I believe, R1. So it's like you are physically like doing anything, you're like, huh, and press R1 and you just chuck it to the side.
Okay.
Yeah, they've done a lot to make that feel better. I guess before we are done talking about it, I don't want to like move on too fast.
Yeah.
But what are like I got like a couple of favorites. Like, what's your favorite suit that you've been wearing as either of the characters?
I mean, there is, like I said, mostly I've been wearing just their classic suits. The story suits. There is one, I think, for Peter Parker Spider-Man that, oh god, I'm forgetting what it's called. But one of the things that, this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but like Peter Parker Spider-Man has like his robo spider arms. And so like that's part of his combat and how he fights. And like my OCD is kind of like, where do those come from? And like with the story suit, they just kind of appear out of his back magically, and then they just go away. It's just like, don't those need to go somewhere?
Where's he keeping those?
Yeah, and so there's one of the spider suits. It's like black and red, and it has like this kind of spider backpack with these holes.
Yes.
That like make sense that the arms come out of. So I've messed around with that one a little bit. As
I think that's probably the superior Spider-Man suit.
That sounds correct. Yeah.
It's when Doc Ock took over Peter's brain in the comics, so that's why he was like notorious in the comic for having those extra like 4 appendages because he was Doc Ock inspired. So
right. Yeah.
Good eye.
So I've been doing that one. Messing around a little bit in Miles's classic suit at the beginning of Miles Morales, where he's just got the mask and a hoodie and like basketball shorts. I think that's just a really. But then there's a lot of ones that have come back from the first game that are really popular. Like there's a DJ one online. I haven't unlocked this one yet, but I've seen there's a Black Panther one for Miles, so that one looks really cool. What about you? What suits have you been gravitating towards?
I definitely I dig the Peter Parker, I like his new updated suit or whatever.
More vibrant.
And more vibrant. Yeah, the reds are not it's not a weird orangey red.
Yeah.
I really love, surprisingly, when I've been playing as Miles, there's a Arachnite suit where he's got a hood and kind of a little cape.
Oh yes. Yes. I know. Yeah.
I've been using that for stealth missions as Miles, where I'm like, okay, this kind of seems fun, making him a little Batman-y.
Yeah.
I have the Black Panther one, and it's really, really cool. I've used that for a couple missions. For Peter, I think my favorite suit, dang, it's tough. Sadly, I don't love the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit as much as I thought I would. That one's in the game, but it's just not quite up to snuff.
There's 2 of them, right? They have both the first movie and the second movie one, right?
Yeah. But I think my favorite is there's a classic suit that is, I think, the suit he's wearing at the beginning of the game in part 1, before it gets messed up when he's fighting Kingpin.
Yeah.
But you can change the colors to be a red and black to look like that Steve Ditko era Spider-Man. And I just like the mobility of that one. Like, he looks a little bit squatter in it. He doesn't look as like elegant and lean as he does in the new one.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, I think it really humanizes him. Also, the combat damage to the suits looks really, really cool when you've like got the right suit on. So.
Yeah.
And they all adjust. Like, if it's a metal suit, you'll see instead of like gashes in the costume missing, it's like scrapes through metal. It's
Okay. I did not know.
Yeah.
I have not noticed that. That's awesome.
yeah. Again, I'm playing this game like a person with extreme OCD. That's a cool detail. What's going on over here?
Well, yeah, it's good IP, and they really did a great job with it. So I'm happy that we have good Spider-Man games. So here's kind of a broad question, because I think there have been many good Spider-Man games. There have been many bad Spider-Man games as well, but like, why do you think Spider-Man as a hero or as like an IP is conducive to making a good video game as opposed to like other heroes? Like before you get going, like, I know Insomniac's also working on Wolverine. And I think, they're a great company. I think they're going to do a great job with it. But like Wolverine seems like a character that's a lot harder to design a game for me than Spider-Man does. So yeah, why do you think Spider-Man is a good IP to make a video game about?
I think there's a couple of factors. I think Spider-Man is typically in the top 3 in terms of like known superheroes.
Definitely.
I think it's like Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, or Spider-Man. Like, he's always, if not number 3, number 2, number 1.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge element of it. But I also think he's got a great rogues gallery. So any of the villains, pretty much, you can pick up. They have like a strong tie to his life, so it's easy to tell a story around them.
Right.
And then I think the mobility and like power of Spider-Man makes it so that he is both interesting to get around as and interesting to fight with. And then also, people just like Peter Parker and people like Miles Morales because they're just very endearing. Like the Stan Lee thing where like anyone could wear the mask. I made it that way so it's not specific.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you just like him because like a dude who's down on his luck.
Yeah, he's very very relatable. Like, for me, Spider-Man embodies like what Marvel does differently from DC, which he's a relatable guy. He has problems. You see that both in Peter and in Miles. Like, they have their private lives that are going on. But yeah, like, running around as Captain America, would not be as fun. Like, nothing against Captain America. And I also like what you said at the beginning there with like, I think it's like Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, as far as like popularity. And like, because you look at like DC and like, who are most of the villains you can name? They're usually Batman villains. And then you look at Marvel, it's like, well, who are the Marvel villains? I mean, it's a little skewed because the Marvel Cinematic Universe has popularized a lot of the villains now. But it's like, really before that, it's like, well, I could name you Spider-Man villains. Like, I can name you Sandman. I can name you Venom. Like, so
they were the easier ones, I think, to. Well, something about them. They're all just like relatable. A lot of them are animals or things that are like, around. And similarly with Batman, though, it's funny that both those characters have like the Penguin or the Lizard. Like,
yeah, sure. Rhino and Scorpion and Vulture. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of Batman ones.
What's well, I would say Cheetah.
Cheetah's like a Wonder Woman villain, though, isn't she?
Wonder Woman, yeah. Mr. Freeze is kind of like his Sandman, though.
Sure, yeah.
Killer Crocodile is kind of like his Lizard.
There you go. There it is. We found it.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. I think they really kind of, those two characters in specific have a great like rogues gallery. They're interesting to get around as, and while Bruce is a little bit less maybe relatable in like a realistic sense, there's something about his, like, I think we all have a dark side thing. That is the side of, I think, Bruce that everybody kind of gets with. Like, all right, when I get serious though, I really like Batman,
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I can't wait to see what they do next and what they do more with this game. we'll have to talk off the air in case I don't want to like spoil
no
almost
spoilers.
anything for anyone who hasn't played it yet. So
yeah.
But yeah, 10 out of 10 game of the year. IGN can suck it.
Enough said.
Enough said.
All right. Well, that's probably gonna do it for us for this episode. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode. If you've enjoyed the show, please click the subscribe and like button. It would really help us out. And if you're craving more Golden Glazed Gaming, you can find us over at TikTok at Golden Glazed Gaming. Next week, we're probably going to talk about more Spider-Man, and we'll be deeper into it. So maybe we'll have some more thoughts that we want to share at the top of the podcast. So I'm really curious to hear about that. And maybe one of us will have played Return to Moria. Probably going to be me, because as much as I slandered it, I'm still going to probably get it.
You gotta love those IPs that have a chokehold.
Yeah, they know. They're like, Lord of the Rings is gonna sell, and I'm like, don't just do it because it's gonna sell, and then I buy it, and then
like, I will take one copy. Thank you.
It's gonna be awful. Shut up and take my money. So yeah. Thanks for joining me this week, Phil, and we will see you guys later.
Peace.